Time to code. So let's get started here. We are working on this final project for CS50w. First thing here would be to cd into our CS50w. I think it's final project. Yes. And we got to activate our virtual environment. Yes. And activate our server. Yeah, Python. Okay. Okay, so this is where we left last time. The idea here is to go ahead and make two divs in the middle that we can use to display this here. So what we have here is just a little feature for users to suggest any improvements or any features that they want to see on our app. And we have a form with, like, similar to a post feed. And for each request, users can upvote. Okay, so this is a lot harder to do in React than it is on plain HTML. So we're going to go ahead and start with using the using this from a previous homework. Okay. And I'm pretty much just going to go ahead and start copy pasting here. So our main React window is being rendered by this app here. And this whole app I'm going to delete. It will start writing our code here. Let's just start with this. I can't remember right now what this does, so let's ask the AI. Yes, we have the CS50. I have to log in. Okay, so what does this do? Line concept state using the destructuring assignment in JavaScript is try to use these effect hooks from the React object, allowing you to use them to free. Okay, I think that just kind of initializes, if I understood correctly. Let's see. Do they use that word here? I guess it's similar to initializing it. Fine. So I don't have to write react dot whatever, just write use to useify whenever I want to use it. So let's copy this. It's just some template code. And Okay. Great. Follow button. We'll implement that later. So that comes out to be all of this. That is all just so that users can follow, can up-like. We'll do that later. The user profile is something else. We don't need that right now. And I would say we use this. So again, because we've already initialized useState over here, so we only type in useState here. We don't have to write like react.useState.whatever. So this whole child1 component I'm going to copy, and it gives us a return. And I see that I also have a feed here, like a post feed. So I'm going to grab all of it as well, and that's it. Okay, so now this can go in here. What just happened? Okay, so the way I would start deconstructing this is to go ahead and find my views from the network assignment. So that's over here. And try to understand here, more than understanding, try to start building inside of it would be the app. So here's marketing, here's app. Here my views, feedback. So here's my views, okay. Login view, logout view, register view. So here I've only just implemented okay, so let's see. Let's do one more. Okay, so we'll have here, I guess the index HTML for network. We can close that for now. URLs we don't need. Views for network, we might need that. I'll put it over here. URLs we don't need. This layout stuff we don't need. We don't need that. We don't need this one in particular. And views feedback. So views. I thought that's what I was working on. 1 second. So I do want my index feedback here. Views. Views. Okay, 1 second. So this views I don't need. These teleport views I don't need. I only need my views feedback. Okay, that's what I need here. So I have my views feedback. I have my views network, which is a previous site where I'm copying from, and my index for feedback. I also want to have my index for network. And I know this seems like a big mess, and this is how it gets. Once the project gets to a certain size, I really do spend 30-40% of the time just trying to figure out what's going on. And if you want to be a developer, you have to get used to sorting through large amounts of code that you have no idea what's going on, especially someone else wrote it. And you also have to get used to the feeling of you don't know what's going on, and you also have to get used to solving problems and fixing code that doesn't want to work. That's most of the time that I spend coding, is figuring out why the code is not working rather than creating and creating. Okay, so index feedback. Again, we need the network. I'm going to explain in a second what all this is. Network index. Yes, okay, so we have okay, I guess this makes sense. We have index for the current project that we're working on. And then we have index for the previous project that we worked on, the views of the previous project that we work on, the views of the current project. So what I want to do is I want to inspire myself from here, basically copy paste and copy paste. We've already copied from here to here. We already did that. So this we won't be using as much. Now I just want to figure out, based on my JavaScript code here, my React code, I want to figure out what it is that I need to write in my backend. Okay, so we have this piece of code. So I'm just going to go line by line and try to make some pseudocode over here to fit what it is that I need. So for now, we'll do here line 1, right? So we have this React code here. I don't think we need that right now. Post, set post, use state. So I believe these are some local variables, and we are just clearing out. So whenever we load the form, it'll just clear the fields. And const handle change. And then over here, handle change, event, whenever something changes, event.target.value. Yeah, I'm having a hard time remembering what that code does, but we'll figure it out. Then we have the handle submit. This actually sends a post request into our server. So I guess that's already something we could start doing here. So if we want to create a new comment or a new feature request in our, again, we're coding here, right? The idea is that I come in here, I write whatever it is that I want to see in the app. With the description, I suggest a feature, and then that displays over here. So whenever I hit suggest feature, that's sending a post request to the server. And let's just start writing that. That's what we're gonna have here. Now let me see how I handled that in the previous homework and then go from there. So in my views.network, I created something called posts engine. Okay, I'm gonna do something similar here. So define a, let's just call it features request engine, and through this view we are going to both I believe we can do both. We can display all of our, we can query the database, we can get each feature request and display here alongside with this, with its scores. I think we can handle the get aspect of this page, so the get request as well as the post request whenever someone submits. So I think we can do both. Let me just make sure here. So we have here we have right here all of this code. Okay, so we have here if request method is post. Again, this is when we create a new post there. It does all of this, okay? Else it'll else is giving us it's just gonna return us over to the index. Okay, so it's actually only handling the posts. Forget it. So let's just new feature request. I'm gonna call this new feature request and forget about this engine part. It takes in the request. Okay, and here's the beauty of Django. As you write the code, it actually debugs it for you on the spot. It's actually very handy. Right, so where were we here? Yeah, so the new feature request. The first thing is we're going to copy all of this. Yeah, nothing like copy and pasting code that you don't necessarily fully understand. But that's the name of the game. Gotta ship fast. Okay, so yeah, this is more like it. So we can compare one-to-one what's happening here. So we have here's the event submission, right? So it does all this random stuff. What is it going to fetch? It's going to fetch a route called new post. So here we're gonna call it new feature, and let's just call it new feature for the sake of that. Feedback, new feature. Now, what do we need to do here? Before we even start writing code of how to handle that, we need to create this URL. So let's go into our URLs here for feedback. So here we have feedback and URLs. You see we need to add a new one here. The path is going to be something along the lines of this. New feature name is going to be equal to new feature, and we're done. No, we're not done. 1 second. New feature, and we do have to link it to this function here. So we will copy this, and we're going to link it to views dot, if I could type, views dot new feature, comma. Don't forget your commas. That's always gets me. I've wasted hours and hours just trying to debug commas and quotation marks. Okay. Now include. We're not using include right now, but I'm not going to mess with it, so just leave it alone. And we got a fetch, not from new post, but from new. We called it new feature. Maybe I should even leave that open a little bit. Let's just leave it open here. URLs. So we have our. So we got our flow here. We got our front end going to a URL, going to a view, and then spitting it back into the front end. Okay, so new post form again. When we submit it, it's going to fetch from new post form which is incorrect, right? We want to fetch from this URL, or sorry, fetch to that URL because of the post request. And okay, once we do that, it's going to run some logic. So let's go back to our view. So again, we fetching here, and what is it doing exactly? I understood now what this code here does. So this is whatever I type in. Whatever I type in is going to be stored inside of this post variable. So then I take that variable, which is in memory, and I convert it into a JSON string, and I package it as a, I believe this is a dictionary, or a dict, with the key of body. And then over here, in the once I send that into the server, 1 second. Yeah, so this is what I'm sending to the server in the request, and then inside of the request I am unpacking that JSON, because again that's just like a wrapper, and I'm getting the current user, and okay, I'm just realizing here, perhaps I want to take a second here. I do believe I have the wrong code here for my backend, but it's a good try. Definitely a good try in the right direction. But I do have the wrong code. Okay. Let me just read what we had from over here. So this post engine, post data, so if data request equals following. What does this do? I think it's just for liking a post, isn't it? Or for showing all of my like posts. That's what it looks like. It's for showing all my like posts, just because it says paginator over here. Because I'm paginating something here, and also I'm like sorting it. I think there's some type of sort going. Yeah, it's like normalizing it. I don't know. Just I believe there's some sort of sorting going on here, and I'm returning user posts, and it's a list of paginated stuff with whatever. post engine. This is in order to get a specific number of posts. That's what it does. We don't need this. This is specific to the networking app. I'm looking specifically for the ability to create a new post. Which is up here. So let's copy all of this. Now I'm CSRF exempt, which in production I won't be able to do that. And I have no idea. I think that was an issue last time to send a CSRF token over JSON. Like, I'm not sure exactly how you do that. Like over React, I'm not sure how React sends a CSRF token. I'm gonna have to look into that later, but that's definitely on the to-do list before I turn the project in. For now, I'm gonna delete all this and paste and rename this to, I don't know, whatever the URL was, new feature. Just like that. Okay. Now I'm throwing an error here that CSRF exempt is not defined, which means I'm probably missing the authentication library here. Give me a second. Yeah, here, this one. Just copy paste this much code here. And again, this is something we need to resolve before publishing the app. This has to do with cybersecurity and whatnot. And I still don't know how to make it work with React. Because again, React is not really a natively supported language inside of Django. It's something that's kind of patched together, developed at different times. This was different. I think these two technologies were developed by definitely different companies, and even at different eras, or at least different years. So they weren't thinking of each other when they created each technology. Meaning that there's a lot of patched up stuff going on here. Maybe I have never used Next.js, but I hear that Next.js is a lot more. It's basically like coding in React, both in the front end and the back end. Anyhow, this CSRF, I had to figure that out later. And we have a new feature request. And 1 second. Okay, and all right, so we should be good there. We have a new feature, and now this really kind of bothers me. This should not be here. So I'm gonna undo whatever we just did now. I know I keep doing that, but I guess that's how it has to be. Paginate post. Yeah, so this is the code we took out. I'm gonna copy it upside, okay, like that. This is the code that we need. Okay. Or the code that we want. I don't know that you need code to live. Maybe you do, I don't know. I doubt it. You need air to live. Code, probably live without it. Okay. If you can make a nice living from coding, then, then I guess coding is something, it's a good skill to have. But nobody needs to code in order to live. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. Okay. I find that disagreeing something is or most of the time, it's funner than agreeing. And the outcome, both for you and the other party, might even be better if you disagree at the beginning than if you just agree on everything. It's true for most relationships. Alright, so new post, again, going again to my URLs and pasting that there. So now my new feature is defined here. It takes in this request. So again, we're looking at side by side. Here's our front end. Here's our back end. The request being sent, again, it's fetching from this, it's sent into this new feature route. And I actually don't know if my new feature route needs to have that at the end. That actually might be a thing. I'm just gonna leave it like that. I think that was throwing an error before at some point, so I'm gonna do that. Yeah, so it's going into the new feature route. That new feature route calls the new feature function, which we're defining here. And let's see what it does. It takes in the request, which is whatever we're sending here. Our request here is a JSON. It's a JSON wrapped dict. And in the body is where the actual, like, whatever in the body is where we're passing the variable post, and that variable post is storing whatever I type into whatever it is that whatever div or whatever form I fill in, which I've declared for that form, that whatever I type in there will be stored inside a post, if that makes sense. So whenever I type into the form, I'm going to set it up so that form stores that data inside of this right here, inside of this post variable. And then eventually when I'm ready to send that into the server, what I'm going to be sending is that post variable, but wrapped or enveloped in a JSON. And of course I could add here a bunch of stuff. I think this is very standard code. I think this whole headers and what the header says and whatnot, that's all as per the documentation. I didn't make that up. That's just straight up copy paste of what the instructions say to do. And really, I guess the only thing that concerns us is this whole post here, body. I think now if I want to send more fields, maybe it's possible. I don't know if I would do it inside of the post, like add a dict, like have the post be a dict, or if this body, you can, if this whole thing, if it would be worth adding fields here. I'm not really sure. And this .then is already when the server is answering. So this is basically what we're sending. We're sending a JSON, maybe even a JSON within a JSON. I'm not sure. Now it's starting to get a little funky. But yeah, I don't know. This is all, I think it might have even been ChatGPT or I don't know, Stack Overflow, from somewhere I got this. If this is how you do it. But okay, I think we dug over there enough. Yeah, so the new feature request, we're sending that request. The first thing that we're going to do is get the user ID against the request.user.id. It's something that's handled by Django. It's whoever is logged in. And my post body JSON loads request.body. Right, so it's my request.body, whatever data is in here. And then we're going to load. So we're going to unwrap that JSON envelope. And we're using a try except over here, just in case we have a problem. I guess it'll just redirect to index, which is, we might have to edit this behavior later. I don't really know where index even goes to at this point. I guess I could check in the URLs for, I think it's in the, let's try here. Yeah, this would be feedback index. Let's just redirect them here, feedback index. Okay. And this sounds about right. So this would be, now we try to get the user objects.get. So I want to get the user object. Now I am using a different model here called teleport user, which is a custom model. So that's what we need to create over there. That's what we got to do. And the new post is not a new post. I guess this is a good time to go into our models here. So we have our feedback models, and so this is the stuff. This is the way we're going to be storing that data in the database. And so we have user teleport user . let's say user teleport user objects get, and I would say this is a new feature. I would call this new feedback. You know, I'm like mixing all these terms here. I don't know. We'll change it here as well. This is where the OCD starts to kick in. It's, I don't know. Okay, I don't know what's better. Let's just leave it like that. New feedback, and if we're changing it, might as well change it over here. Update our clients. That's the new address. Okay. So it would be again. I guess that makes sort of sense right now. Let's see, user ID, user request ID, post body. Okay, user ID. Once we have the user ID, we try to get, so once we have those two, now we can create, again, our model takes a user, it takes a user title and description. Let's call this title. Yeah. Let's call this feedback title. And default is asking, what is this witchcraft? I told you, there's nothing better than than copy pasting code that you barely understand, especially if someone else wrote it. But in this case, I did write this previous code. This is from a previous homework, and I'm just copy pasting a lot of it. The course lets you copy paste from your previous assignments. I'm heavily modifying it, but I'm using it just to save time. And over here in the middle, I have we're just working on the way I'm storing the data. So we have the user ID, feedback title, request title. Okay, so again, our model takes a user, which we already getting here, and a title, which we're gonna get here, and a description. So let's put that one in, and a description, and a description. So you see we have here request, title, and description. Let's see if we're actually sending in that request a title and a description. So here it's going to have to be title. And I might need a second variable to hold on to that. Title and set title. Okay. Now I'm going to try to find some documentation. I think I might be able to declare two variables here and use that one setter function to set it. We'll see later. Okay. User ID, feedback title, feedback description. Why is this throwing errors? I'm not sure. Oh, maybe because do I need? No, I don't need commas here. Maybe because I'm not using it anywhere else yet. I think that's what's going on here. Okay, so I'm declaring it, but I'm not using it. So fine. So I'm sending into here. Oof. Let me just take a look here in the previous homework. So again, that'll be my index for network. Let me see if I find any instances here of declaring. Yeah, so I'm already going to say no. I don't think it's possible. Okay, I'm just gonna do it separately. So I need places to save this. Again, we're coding up here this little app here. It's a very small app. Again, it's like a small app within a bigger project. It's just going to allow the users to suggest features. And I think this is a great way to code tiny apps that you want to publish and get them to an audience quickly. You want to code them as quickly as possible with the minimum amount of features, and then ask the audience themselves what features they think would be useful. And then the idea here is that each user can upvote stuff. And so, if I'm the developer, I publish the app, I publish it with this, and let's say once a month, I'll check in here and see, okay, I see, wow, like this admin, people are asking for this feature. 12 people have asked for it. I'm going to work on that feature next. I'm not going to be wasting time on my own imagination, imagining what features might be great. No, I'm going to code exactly what people are asking for. That's the idea behind it. And this is similar to a post feed like Facebook, Instagram has, or any social media, which was the previous homework. So I already coded in the last homework, basically a clone of Facebook. And I'm reusing a lot of that code here. Now, when you make a new post, it's just one field of text. Here we have multiple fields of text. We have two. So what we need over there is two variables to keep track of this stuff. Okay. So let's do a second one. So that's a const. So again, we already have our title here, and we also need a description. Description, okay, and we're gonna set that to use state of empty, and we're gonna close that. Okay, and what this is basically saying is that whenever we load that page, the form should be blank because we're gonna be resetting whatever data is in memory for that particular user. That's by default. If you were writing an app for which you want to save data in the cache before you even send it to the server, let's say I wanted to allow users to start writing whatever they want here. And if they forget to send it, next time they come to this page, maybe a day later, the data that they start writing in here will still be there. So in that case, the code here might have to be different. I wouldn't be resetting the variable every time someone comes in there. For now, this is fine. I just want to take a look here in the previous homework again. Do we need? Can I use this handle change? Handle change. I wonder if we need different handle changes over there as well. What is that handle change? Yeah, that handle change is over there. I might need two of these because I think the best thing would be to use a unique handle change per variable. So let's copy paste that. Hey, default. Which problem set are you referring to? You're saying you're taking some JS code right now in university, and that you're gonna go to week 8. So yeah, just write some details here. Like, what code are you taking, or sorry, what course? Like, what exactly are you learning in your? Just in one sentence, like, what are you learning in relation to JavaScript in college right now, and which problem set is it that you're trying to go for afterwards? I'm just curious to see if it's compatible. And Diddy versus Case OH says, "Thank you for your video. Have a good day. Have a good day. Everybody should have a good day. We should all of humanity should have a good day." And he's asking, "Why am I such a good software engineer?" That's interesting. I don't necessarily consider myself like a good software engineer. I consider myself as knowing just the bare basics. This really is the bare basics, at least for someone who, like, I didn't go to college for software engineering. I'm thinking about it. We'll see. I'm not exactly a kid, but maybe it's possible. Especially today, there's a couple of online programs for CS. Harvard has one actually. Actually, CS50 is part of the courses you could take and get credit for in the Harvard program. So I'm thinking about it. We'll see. It's so again, yeah. I think if this looks like it's a lot, maybe it is. I don't know, but I guess I'm comparing myself to like people, the type of people that work for big companies and that have a degree and that go to these React conferences. Like if I wanted to go to my local React conference, I have to go on the waiting list. And maybe they give me a ticket. Last time I didn't get a ticket. They had a meeting about a month ago. I didn't get a ticket, but I managed to get a ticket for the one happening next month. So, okay, I'm not on the radar. I get it. There's like a whole community in my area for these like really, really, big shot developers, and I'm not one of them. But that's who I'm comparing myself to. Yeah, I guess if I compare myself to myself back in 2020, which is when I started to code. I started in 2020 and then I dropped and then I picked it up back again. I think at the end of 2020 or maybe even at the end of 2021. I don't remember right now. I'll check the channel. It's like one of the first videos. So if I compare myself to what I knew then, of course, it's like a huge difference. And like I would have never been able to, like I started with just understanding what a div is and like, how to use very basic HTML, CSS. Fine. So that's it. Now I understand. I also have a bit of a background in marketing and whatnot, so I can understand. Like I knew how to use Figma before. Okay, so for this project, I designed the entire project. My entire final project it's already all here. It's all here. These are all the marketing pages. Over here I have the app features. I'm very specific what it is I want to code. And I tried designing it. I just use a template. I'm not using anything like crazy or anything like that. But, something reasonable that gives me something to look at that I could say that's what I'm going to code instead of, having to come up with it on the spot. I think that's the biggest problem people do. They start coding before they even have a wireframe of what it is that they're coding. And so how can you get anything? How can you build a house if you don't have a blueprint? That doesn't make any sense, right? So yeah, that's my 2 cents. But let me just, I guess, finish with that in that rant. That if you feel like I know a lot, I'm just letting you know that you can also know as much as me, maybe even more. All you have to do is just sit down 1 or 2 hours per day and just code. If you do that over the course of a year, 2 years, 5 years, you're going to get good at it. Maybe even and more importantly, you might even get good at knowing what to code and what not to code. Just because you have a good idea doesn't mean you have to code it. Not everything has to be digital. And I hope that I hope that for myself as well, I can find good ideas that are worthwhile to spend the time coding. That's part of the reason for this feature thing. I don't want to code things that are useless. I want people to let me know what they want. And let me know what they find valuable. Okay, so default says PSET 8, learning just the fundamentals of JS. Will attempt the home page problem. I'm not sure what you're referring to in the homepage problem. Are you referring to the web course or the main CS50 course? So again, CS50 has, I don't even know, like 8, 9, 10 different courses. Which one are you referring to? CS50X or CS50w? They're 2 different things, very different things, very, very different things. This one that I'm working on right now is CS50w, so it's I guess you could call it the follow-up course to the main course. Okay. Um, so yeah, we were here. So these two over here will store the title and the description of that post. That's how we're gonna store that locally, and then that's like just an empty space. Right now we have to actually store it as I'm writing, as I'm typing it out. As the user types out, you actually want to store that in there. So we just want to go ahead and um, in the main CS50X. All right, good luck. Yeah, that's a. I don't remember that. I don't know if you actually need. I can't remember right now. Do you actually need JavaScript for that one? Can't remember if I actually used. I mean, the JavaScript over is. Yeah, I don't remember. I feel like it was only HTML, CSS. No, for the homepage. Maybe the. Oh, sorry. No, there was some JavaScript. Yeah. Yeah, but I remember back then I didn't really know that much Java. I mean, I did not know any JavaScript. Even after watching the lecture twice, I still felt like I didn't know enough JavaScript. So I did a very, very, very simple JavaScript feature, barely enough just to comply with the homework's spec, and that's it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can just do it with HTML and CSS, no JavaScript needed. The only reason I added that JavaScript is just because it was a requirement. So I'm guessing that's how everybody's doing it. Yeah, at that time they don't really teach the JavaScript lecture is not that good on the course. I mean, JavaScript is a massive thing, right? So you can't learn JavaScript in 1 hour. Over there you could probably write, I don't know, I total maybe 10, 20 lines of JavaScript and then call it and you're done. Like you don't have to do more than that just to it's just to submit the homework. But good luck. Yeah, it sounds like you're towards the end, and if you can pass that and pass that assignment, I think you finish the course. Like after that, it's just follow up and to finish the final project, and that's it. Like it's I would say so. People can pass week 5. If people can pass the I think it was the data structure and algorithm week, you could pass the course. I think that's week 5. For me. That's when like something clicked, and I was like, wow, like I could. This is a career for me now. Like up until week 5, I was just kind of testing the waters, trying to see if this is actually for me, if I enjoy, if it's possible. After week 5, it was so hard, and I actually completed it. That's when it felt like, yeah, I can do this. Okay. So title description. Okay. And I'm just noticing here that we have about 6 more minutes for the live stream, so let's continue here. But tomorrow I'm not sure if it's gonna be a live stream, but that we'll try my best on Sunday. Right, the goal is to do Sunday through Friday and Saturday off. But we'll see if tomorrow night maybe could work out. So that would be in another 27 hours, something like that. We can try and see. But yeah, so going back to here. So you're saying, yeah, so default, you're saying that it sounds like you tried coding a few times and now you finally found CS50X. Now you're really getting the hang. That's the way I thought as well. I tried for many years. I actually tried coding with CS50 back in 2015. And I don't know, I just dropped it. After like week 1, it was too hard. And the course was different also. It wasn't as like beginner friendly as it is now, especially now. Like they build you up. They really do build you up in the homeworks now. Before it was like a shock. The homework was a shock. It reminded me when I was in college, like my organic chemistry tests. Like you learn one thing in class, and then we get to the test, you're like, what am I looking at? Has nothing to do with the lecture. Like, so that's how it felt. But okay, so I dropped it for a few years, and I came back to it 5, 6 years later. Now really, and throughout the time, I really try like Python tutorials on YouTube, this sort of thing. But it's really tutorial hell. There really is no point in learning to code using any other method other than Harvard, in my opinion, other than CS50. I mean, they've really nailed it down. You could do the courses are like very professional. They're very well done, and they're challenging, and they have so many courses for you to follow up and really build it up. Like there's no point in doing any other. Really, in my opinion, there's no point in paying for subscriptions to Code Academy and all these different things. It's not worth it, really. Okay, so then again, we have these two variables here. We want to store stuff in there, and we also need the two ways to handle that change. And we can't have these two have the same name, so we're gonna have to update that. But it would be my set description. So I'm not gonna get into too much into what this does, but this is basically a setter function for this a variable, and I guess it's a way of JavaScript being a little bit more secure. As far as I know, I don't know, types, I don't know, this reminds me a little bit of like object-oriented programming in Python, which is really what we're doing here, especially in the database. Basically, this is an object. Look, teleport.objects, that's an object, right? Now, we're writing our objects here, and by the way, I recommend you take also, after CS50, you should take the Python course. Especially the last 2 weeks of Python course are very good. They're teaching stuff that they don't teach on any other course. The first few weeks on Python, I did in one day. Like, I just played the lecture in like 2x, twice as fast, and just did the homeworks. And I think I did like the first three homeworks in one day. Really, it's very easy, and then the pace kind of gets a little bit harder. Especially because I was already coming from CS50, so I understood all the beginner stuff. But towards the end of that course, they really teach you about like these object-oriented programming and how to, the magic of objects is here we're just writing the objects we're writing the objects here very, how would you say it, very openly, meaning it doesn't, I can just go in here, get my object and edit it, okay? Over here in this code, you can't just do that. I can't just get the description variable and edit it. The only way I can edit my description variable, or constant in this case, is through this set description function. Does that make sense? So it's a way of protecting the variable from the user's ability or hacker's ability or anyone like that to change its value outside of like a very strict framework that you set it. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, just look for the Python course towards the end. So we have handle change. We need set description here. So that's what this is doing here, basically. We're setting it up so that whenever a user writes into the form, that event will put the value of whatever I typed in there into title, but it's going to do it using the set title function. Okay, that's just again a way. It's like I guess it's like saying to people, you could talk to me, but only if you call me at this number. You can't talk to me if you call me from a different number. Okay. I guess servers do that as well, right? Like a lot of websites limit the IPs, for example, right? They limit that. Like they only allow users to look at their site from the US, for example. Like if you try accessing that site from outside the US, it'll block you. So it's similar. If you try changing the description variable not through the set description function, it won't let you. It just won't work. Okay, so now we clear that out. We have our handle change. So these two can't have the same name. We will just put in their description. We will put in their title. Okay. Yeah, so going back to default, let's see. I think there's no way around of doing what I'm learning all these years. I was trying to avoid it, to be honest. Yeah, I think the same thing. I was also getting, I was just busy for no good reason. Like just what I like to call chasing low-lying fruit. Like uh, I talked about on the channel before. I was a videographer, media producer before COVID. And actually, right before COVID, I had an accident, a work accident. I broke my leg. Real crazy story. How that ended. Basically, ended my filmmaking career, so to speak. And it was a good thing because then it forced me to really had no option other than sit in bed, with a broken leg, nowhere to go, with a laptop and CS50, and that's how I got through it. So I forced myself. But before that, I didn't have like the focus. I didn't have the focus. I was scared because it's hard. It's hard at the beginning. Honestly, it's hard right now. Every stage is something scary. Like I'm coding all this whole app here. I hope to publish it and get users for it and try to do something out of it. Maybe a little tiny app or something that could be monetized. That I can monetize and that offers real value to real users. Like that's what I'm trying to nail down. Like a really a product and a market fit. So let's see. Um, in the meantime, I talk about um, many of my videos to code 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day. And the live stream, you could see the record here of live streams. They talk themselves. Like I put in my 2 hours a day. Yeah, I took a break for a while, but that's the whole point of it. You can't control the outcome. You can only control putting in 2 hours a day or 1 hour a day or whatever it is. Okay, so I think we have done a lot of stuff here. So title, set title. Description, set description. Handle, title change. Handle, description change. Good. Constant handle submit. New feedback. Beautiful. And we have again our title, which is going to take our title. And I hope this is correct code here. Just description. What am I talking about? Just description, just like that. Beautiful. So we have the title and the description, and here we have title, and we'll put that variable in there. Now again, I don't know if this is correct code. Like I don't know if I should, instead of sending two fields externally over here, I should actually put them all inside of like a body in here, and then in there put my dict. I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out. But okay. Beautiful. So this turns out to be our entire form, and it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. I don't think we're done yet, but it's getting there. Just one last time, look at our models here. So for our user, we want to get teleport user.objects.get ID equals user ID. And our user ID, we're getting it from Django, which is sending it to us over here. Beautiful. Which it's really like a default feature of request. The reason why I say that the web course is very different from the main course is because here we're using Django, which has a lot, way more features than Flask, even though Flask is a great app framework to get started with, and I really enjoy working with Flask. I'm not sure how much you want to rely on Flask if you're going to be publishing an app, like with actual paid users. Django is used in many places. I think YouTube. This platform we're using right now on YouTube. It's was coded on using Django. Airbnb is on Django. There's many cool products that are coded in this framework. Okay, so that's the feedback like. Well, to be honest, to be fair, this whole view and whatnot, all the stuff is probably the same in Flask as it is in Django. But in Django, it gives you a lot better opportunities, or not better opportunities. It gives you all these like cybersecurity stuff and tokens and whatnot. Okay. So yeah, we're getting that user on the teleport user custom model object that. The new feedback will be a post. It's not a post. It's called a feedback. Just leave it as that, feedback. I'm not going to modify the database right now. That would be horrible. If I were to start modifying these here, by the way, it'll give me all kinds of issues because I already have data stored in that database. So it'll start, imagine like, you have an Excel sheet and then you start changing the column names after you already populated that Excel sheet. It makes problems. Okay, so feedback, so again, we have to pass multiple things in here. User, yes, sir. So we have feedback. New feedback is, we're gonna make a new feedback object with the title equals feedback title. The feedback is a feedback title, and the owner is description. Okay, so that's the title is, and then the description will be feedback description. And this is sort of how that should work, comma. And my user will be, hold on. Okay, I believe it should be this here. Yeah, whatever user, yeah, I think we have to pass the entire, ooh. I don't know if we're just allowed to pass an ID. I have to look into that. I have to, no, actually I remember testing it. Yeah, I think you have to pass the whole object. Sometimes you're allowed to pass in the user ID. There's a way of doing it. I honestly don't know which way is better. To either, yeah, I don't know which way is better. To either pass the entire object or just pass the user ID as an integer. No idea. No idea. I'm just going to do it like this. I think this is probably the recommended way of doing it, just to pass the whole user object. And then we want to save this new feedback dot save. So this will actually entry that into our entry that into our database, save it into the database, and it'll return something very nice. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense because this new feedback only, so again, this entire function here, this whole view really is it's handling only creating posts, creating feedback cards. These, right? Each of these. That's its sole job. So like it's all post requests. So if the request is post, then we're gonna do all this else, meaning what's the only other option? Else would be like a get, or I think put. So in that case, we're just going to redirect into the index. Which index? I have no idea. I think we should be reversing into the feedback index. Correct. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, and that's it. I think that's it. I think that's it for this view. I will feel very accomplished if this actually works today. I doubt it. We only have to go already, but I think this is a good start to this whole setting us up well into this. In terms of our view, I think we're done here. I just want to go back to our index for feedback. I think we're done with our models for now. Index feedback, right? It takes the response, right? It'll set post. It'll let's see here. Yes, sir. It'll do set title into blank. It'll also do a set description into blank, right? We're gonna reset our form field once we submit it and it's successful. Okay. And props on reload. Now that I'm doing all this, I'm just thinking in my head, like, it would be a little weird to let users submit an unlimited amount of ideas here. So maybe we want to limit it. Maybe we do want to limit this to 1 or 2 submissions per user, or 1 or 2 active submissions. Maybe if so implied there is the word active. I don't think this model here has an active field, so I think we should add that here. Active equals models dot boolean. Is it boolean field? And default is equal to false. I'm gonna say false. Why? Because as the administrator of the app, I would just manually turn them on, and then whatever I turn on goes here. Maybe that's the way to do it. I'm not sure. Yeah, let's just do false. Or another way of turning them on is that we'll turn on by default the first feedback for every user. If they want to submit additional ones, that would be like pending review, so to speak. I think that's a good way of doing it. So we're going to do a default of false here, and then we'll write some code in the backend to check whether that user has already submitted feedback. If not, then we will switch this boolean field to true. And then we'll also check in our feedback feed. We're going to check over there for all of these. Before they show up here, we're going to check if this field here is set to true, and if it's not, then it won't show there. Okay, so those are just little optimizations that we can do here and there. I just want to see how much I messed up my database, because I did change it, even though I have data in there already. So I'll show you what that looks like when you mess it up. It's not, maybe it doesn't really mess it up, but let's see. So we have Python manage py, and then we say make migrations. You see here it says add field active to feedback. So here's feedback, and here's the field we added. Let's try again. Python manage. So this sort of prepares the migrations, stages it. Manage, migrate. So first we make the migration, then we migrate. Let's see. Hit enter. Beautiful. So it actually didn't give us any problems, so that's good. That's cool. So our default is false. We don't actually have to, whenever we create a new feedback card, we don't need to set that, it'll automatically do it for us. And we can check for that, and we can modify that field whenever we want to display the card in the get, not in the post. Okay. Models feedback, so we can get out of there, and we're gonna set our title descriptor back to blank, and we do props on reload. Again, these are props which we are passing over here, and we are passing those props I know we're passing them somewhere. I'm not sure where right now. Maybe this is more for tomorrow, but basically we like that just means that we're passing some type of function into here, into this, for us to use, and that function is a bit of a general function, so that must be coming in from down here. Let me see. Maybe even from here. Let's take a look. Yeah, you see that? We have this here. So it's coming from the parent React element. We'll talk more about that tomorrow or Sunday. We'll see. Not making any promises, but I'm gonna leave it like that for now. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that for now. But this is looking great. This really is. Index for feedback. Okay. On reload. So on reload, I am passing this handle reload function, and that handle reload function is being set up here. And all this handle reload function does is, it's a very interesting behavior. And this is something that took me a while to understand. I don't know if it's unique to React, but it's something that took me a while to understand. So you'll see here that has exclamation mark reload. What does this function do? All it does is that whenever it is called, it'll set reload to its opposite. Similar to the model that we set. Imagine we have a model. Imagine that we would have a function that whenever we call that function, it'll change this active here. And whenever we do that, give me 2 minutes. And whenever we do that, it just changes the value. Now, what React does is that in order to reload elements, it checks whether this variable has changed value. And that's one of the features of React. So tomorrow we're going to get more into that, or Sunday, we'll see. Thank you for joining. If you found this valuable, just let me know, like what type of content you find valuable, what type of content you don't find valuable. I'm going to be sitting here coding on the daily anyway, so I figured I'll just try to live stream it and connect with you guys and have a bit of back and forth. So I hope you guys be well, have a good weekend, and see you in the next live stream.